Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to Eons of Battle, and today I want to tell you all about how to have the perfect game night. There's a lot of ways to play games. Friend and local game stores are a great option, Warhammer stores are really good. The problem with those usually is the bathroom situation. Sometimes friend and local game stores will have a good bathroom, but often Warhammer stores are like in malls or in strips, and so you end up having to march your way to the Jewel Osco or to the Burger King down the road to actually use the restroom. Neither here nor there. The best way to play games is comfortably in your own home with all of your friends around. But it's a tricky thing to pull off. Sort of objectively, war games are not as much fun as other things. It's not the typical way people get together and hang out and have fun, but it is one of the most rewarding and engaging and fun ways to get everyone together and to have a lot of fun. And so I want to give you the strategies that you need to host the perfect game night. But first, do you find yourself in a wargaming losing streak? Do you find your math skills are not up to snuff? Do you wish you could freshen up on those mathematics skills through bite-sized interactive courses? Well then Brilliant.org might just be the learning platform for you. Brilliant is a resource dedicated to teaching you complex concepts in an engaging manner through easy-to-follow learning experiences. I found Brilliant's Introduction to Probability course very informative. Following these lessons, I can train my brain to know the probability of dice before I roll them, which is important in my never-ending quest to defeat Sean. Brilliant's brief lessons break down important concepts into understandable parts. You can gradually master whole topics in as little as 15 minutes a day. Brilliant boosts your analytical thinking skills to make you a better problem solver no matter what wargame you play. Or career or education. It works for that stuff too, I guess. Interactive learning has been proven to be 6 times more effective than passive learning. If you want to try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, go to brilliant.org/eonsofbattle or follow the link in the description below. The first 200 of you guys will get 20% off Brilliant's premium annual subscription. A big thanks to brilliant.org for sponsoring this video. Now, I'm not talking about just getting one buddy over and having a 40k night, because that's just talking to somebody on Discord and getting one person over. I'm talking about 3 people and up, as many as you possibly can. It can be a little unruly if you have a lot of people, but then that's when the games get really, really intense, and that's usually when the volume reaches an extreme level. But I think a really important thing to think about is, if you want to get people over to play a game, whether it's 40k, Kill Team, Dead Zone, Warcry, you need a primer. You need something to get the ball rolling. You need to, because right now, especially if you're playing with civilians, if you have gamer friends, they're probably already primed and ready to go for games. Now, if you're trying to get civilians into these games, you really have to ease them in. They're not primed for it. You have to find a way to let them know what's in store. And what's in store is having fun, laughter, rolling dice, screaming when the dice go your way, screaming even louder when the dice don't go your way. You need a way to let them know that that's what's in store. Now, the way not to do this, I would say, is to plug in your Nintendo Switch and turn on the Jackbox games, which are terrible. The Jackbox games are objectively really bad. I don't get how they've taken over the world of party games. There's 2 minutes of explanation of how to play each game, and they're the simplest thing. It's super dumb. But I would say try to keep the TV off the entire time, because the danger is video games are really, really good. I would say chances are you're probably just gonna end up playing Mario Kart or Smash Bros the entire night. I would say leave the TV off and instead invest in some actually fun party games. A big one here at the EOB household is Exploding Kittens. Other really good games is Camel Up, Cockroach Poker, usually simple card games or board games that the rules are incredibly easy to explain and things get really intense really quickly. It's also a great way to introduce people, maybe if you have some friends who know each other and some friends who don't. These sorts of games let everybody kind of mix together and start to yell and laugh with each other and get everybody really, really comfortable. Exploding Kittens is a really, really good one. You're just trying to kill each other and screw people over, and there is some strategy and some sort of, it's not, I would say it is adjacent to Warhammer 40k, because when you boil everything down into its simplest elements, you're just playing with people. And this games like this, Cockroach Poker, Exploding Kittens, it's a really, really good way to just get that ball rolling, get everybody comfortable, having fun, laughing. Now, the tricky thing, you've played these games, maybe you played 2 or 3 rounds, everybody is primed, they're ready to go. Now it's time to shift to a real game. And I think this is a very, very dangerous step, because these games just exude fun. They are party games. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. They're remembering when they put the exploding kitten right back on the top of the deck and then blew up Sean and it was beautiful. Now we have to transition to a game that's very complicated with a lot of rules. And this is where things can fall apart, because the objective is to let everybody have a really, really good time. And if they have such a good time, they're gonna come back. So if you're gonna play a game like Kill Team, the danger is an explanation of the rules. You wanna keep it all condensed and simple, especially if you have a lot of people over. Maybe make up a scenario for 3 players or for 4 players and let everybody play. And I would try to avoid most of the heavier rules. You know, if you're trying to explain objectives to somebody, especially somebody who's never played before, if you say, oh, to get an objective, you need to have more action points available within 2 inches of the center of an objective. It'd be really easy for their eyes to glaze over and for them just to remember, oh, this game took 3 seconds to explain and this game seems like a lot. So you kind of want to go with like the first Rambo movie. Your orders are to kill, period. You know, give a brief explanation of moving with the tape measure, a brief explanation of shooting and fighting, and then just have a brawl. Put some minis on the table, let them pick which minis they want to play with. It's always good to have loner armies. You should always have a loner army, I would say, for every game, especially for games that you're not guaranteed to be able to find opponents to play, like Kill Team and 40K, Age of Sigmar, pretty darn popular games you can probably find people to play with at the friendly local game stores. But if you're doing something a little bit more off the beaten track, like Armada from Mantic or Dead Zone also from Mantic, those are the types of games where you're probably, if you want to play them, you're probably gonna have to put in the legwork and have an extra army available. And you also have to think of it a little bit in terms of D&D. You kind of have to become the DM of these games. You have to be able to answer every question and explain things really, really succinctly, clearly, and cleanly. I often fail at this because I have so many games and I have to read all of these rules and keep track of everything. And so every time you have to pause the game and go back to the rule book and read something, it slows everything down, it stops the momentum. All of these games do tend to have a failsafe in these situations. Usually it's on like the first few pages where they explain if you and your opponent ever have a disagreement, just roll a dice and then go with it. And you should do that. I don't know why we always try to be such sticklers for the rule. I think it's because Sean's around. And so we always try to play so well. But if you ever have a situation come up where, you know, do I have cover? Do you have cover? Am I available as a shooting target? Am I not available as a shooting target? It's probably just best to really quickly roll off and then go and then just keep on moving. But your first few games, just have it be a slugfest, fighting in combat, shooting in combat. Let people get to know these rules and why it is really fun. If you have 3 people, like an odd number that isn't quite properly supported by the game, there's plenty of ways to reinvent the game to make that work. If you're playing something like Age of Sigmar or Big 40K, if you have like an Imperial Knight or maybe a Sons of Bahamut or the giants from Age of Sigmar, that would be a great unit to give to another person to just let them stomp around and do some real damage during the game while you and your opponent are maybe playing the game a little bit more typically. But yeah, the first few games, especially with new people, should just be violence. It should just be glorious combats. And hopefully by this point, people are getting into it. They're kind of learning the game. They're understanding what's going on. And then maybe for the next game, especially if somebody lost, they're like, well, why did I lose? What's going on? Then you start to introduce things like objectives and secondary objectives and all of the little nitty gritty. But by this point, everybody's probably getting a little hangry because you played your card games, you played your first game of board game or your first tabletop war game. And so now there's 2 options, I would say, and both options are fine. You can throw in an oven pizza or some Tostino's pizza rolls, break out the Mountain Dew, make sure that everybody is well fed, or you go on a little adventure. This is the typical way that we here do it, where there's a Culver's right up the road. Everybody piles into the car, we go to Culver's, we get something greasy and delicious, and you bring it back. And not only is everybody happy because they're eating delicious food, but this is the perfect time to corrupt people, because I would say the secondary mission objective for hosting a game night is to get them into the games. So maybe while everybody is eating, you crack open the laptop and you go onto the website of whatever game this is and you start looking at the miniatures. All of a sudden they're like, ooh, there's dwarves in this game. There's lizard men in this game. This is prime time to kind of keep the excitement up and let them see all of the lovely little toys that are available in this game. Because that's when you really start to sink your claws into them and try to get them really invested. It's also a good opportunity to talk about how the game went, what things happened, what things could have gone, how things could have gone differently, maybe some different rules that didn't come up in this game but could come up in future games, try to get people more excited for playing. And then after the Culvers is eaten and everybody's had a couple of Mountain Dews and they're all hyped up, then you'll roll into your next game. Now, it could just be more games of the same game. It could be, you could move on to a different game. Maybe you could play a more complicated board game, something like a Nemesis, which is really, really fun. We've tried to play Nemesis a couple of times. It's a very long board game, so we haven't actually gotten to the end phase yet. Our ship did blow up once. That was a lot of fun. Or, you just keep going with like Warcry or whatever the game you're playing is. And now that everybody is fed and they have the first experience under their belt, now you can get into the nitty gritty. Trying to win, maybe get a little bit competitive, be a little bit meaner, maybe take some more of those opportunities to blow some miniatures away, or maybe give them the perfect opportunity to get those super cool snipes or rerolls, like buff stacking off. Now you're really, really getting into it. And so that second game, when everybody is kind of a little bit more aware of what's going on, now you're getting into it, and hopefully you've got them hooked. Now, in an evening, you're not gonna get that many war games in unless it's something like Dead Zone, where the games are just so fast, or Star Wars X-Wing. Oh, Star Wars X-Wing is the greatest game, and it actually plays okay with more people. Larger group X-Wing games, really larger group war games in general, do tend to drag. Even with alternating activation, people end up waiting a little bit of a long time. You can get 2 games going at the same time, and that can definitely speed things up. I know one time we had 4 people, and I was battling Sean and Nick was battling Amanda, and me and Sean were just trying to murder each other. We finished a full 4 turns of Kill Team in about 45 minutes, and it was a close game. It was a beautiful game. Meanwhile, Amanda and Nick were just kind of having fun, chit-chatting, playing, how the game is meant to be played, a little bit more casually. And so we wrapped up our game, turned over to their table, and they were still on like turn 2. But you want situations like that to happen. You want, if 2 people just want to murder each other, you want to be able to let that happen. And if 2 people want to play a little bit more casually, you also want to let that happen. You want to make sure that you're keeping track of everybody's mood and how they're feeling, and make sure that everybody is very comfortable. Now, towards the end of the night, you maybe have to make certain decisions like, can we fit in another game? And if you can't, that's the perfect time to move back to the party games. If you don't have if you only have like half an hour left and everybody has to start getting going, these games are gonna make the end of the night feel really fun, because you're laughing, you're screaming, you're crying if you're Sean, because sometimes I actually win in this game and I actually beat him. And so these sorts of games make for a really, really fun end of the night. And you want people to have tons of fun at the end of the night, because it's a big ask. It's a big ask to have everybody come over and play these games with you. And if they didn't have fun, chances are they're gonna flake out the next time you ask. And that's fair. If they don't have a good time, or if the games are just a little much, they're probably going to have more fun doing what they normally do, like reading books or watching Netflix or whatever. And so if they remember the evening as screaming and laughing and having fun, that is gonna be what keeps bringing them back over and over and over again. So I would definitely say, you might think you don't like games like this, but you do. You really do. You'll have so much fun. Exploding Kittens, Cockroach Poker, Camel Up. Really, really good games. Another important thing to hosting a game night, you don't necessarily have to have all of your miniatures beautifully painted, but you probably should have terrain. And you know where you can get lots of terrain real quick? That's right, our Patreon. Over there, we have a brand new STL terrain board every single month. This month, we have the Orc Brewery, the unofficial sequel to Octeris, complete with new sections of walls and a Goth Rocker stage. We also make one extra episode of Eon's Battle every single week, where we take a look at our viewers' miniatures and give them some ideas and critiques of how to improve their painting. We host live Discord hangouts, and we have a tier where you can get your name on one of my Black Templar, and you can join the Immortal Crusade. Nothing is more fun than a proper game night, getting to play with all of your toys. It really does feel like the cherry on top of all of the work, that learning the rules, painting the miniatures, putting together the miniatures, figuring out how to keep track and store all of this stuff. When you finally get people over and you kind of get to show it off and share it with them, it really is when everything becomes magical. Thanks for watching.